Good evening. Welcome to the first official council meeting for the new council. This is the regular meeting for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, and go for call for order.
Mayor President Fitzpatrick?
Here.
Councilmember Bulman?
Here.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Here.
Councilmember Putt?
Here.
Councilmember Rubal?
Here.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Here.
And Mayor Maxwell?
Here. First agenda would be invocation by Michael Stein and the Pledge of Allegiance by Bill Dunn.
Precious Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to be together as Universal City. What a family we have here, Lord. You have blessed us tremendously. Right now, Father, I'd like to open by having a special moment for Mr. Neville, who needs help with his health right now, Father. And Lord, also blessing for each and every one of our council members, because, Lord, they're the ones that put everything together. Keep Universal City as a city on a hill, shining for each and every one of us to see, Father. Lord, we know there's going to be debates, there's going to be organizational meetings, there's going to be a lot going on, Father, but Lord, that everyone keep in mind that it's all about the hearts of the citizens that live here. We love Universal City, we love what it stands for, we proudly live in Universal City, Father. Lord, that you would bless not only the council members and Ms. Kim Turner and her entire staff, Father, but also their families, because we know when you're happy at home, you're going to serve better. Thank you for the public servants that we have, Father. And Lord, thank you for everyone that's here today. In your precious name, Father. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And we'll start with the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a few reports this evening. We're going to start off with Mr. Toro Martinez. He is here representing the office of Congressman Henry Cuellar. As you know, as a staff, we try to do everything we can to identify funding for projects, and he is here to make an announcement on behalf of the city of Universal City. While he's coming up, we are in Congressman Cuellar's district, and they've been very supportive of our grant application. So, Toro, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Manager. Like you said, my name is Toro Martinez. I'm here with the Office of Congressman Henry Cuellar, and I bear good news to you. And actually, it's an honor and privilege. This message comes from the Congressman directly. Your city has been awarded $160,000 on a Safe Street grant program. This is for planning. First of all, I want to recognize Randy and his team that put this together. Since the Congressman is the highest ranking member from Texas in appropriations, he sees these things, he voted for this to approve it. This was a very competitive grant, and I congratulate him on behalf of the Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you, Toro.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next item is a discussion regarding our mental health officers. Councilmember Fitzpatrick had requested this some time back, and so we managed to get police and fire here on the same evening. And so the police department has put a little bit of a primer for you so that you have takeaway information that you can look at later. So right now I will turn it over to Officer Stevens and Officer Yee. They're going to do from the police perspective, and then we will hear from the fire EMS perspective second. take it away.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you guys for having us. My name's Sergeant Yee. I'm the Police Department's Mental Health Supervisor. And just basically, just a little bit of stuff that we do. We do crisis intervention. We also do gather resources. On the back page, there's the resources that we partnered with. And just to name a few, Be Well, Endeavors, the Center for Healthcare Services, the City of Schertz EMS. What we also have done with the city is we've done homeless outreach. I know that's been something that has been a concern. We're addressing it. And what we do is I wanted to basically let you guys know that we put in, because of where Universal City is at, we put in a lot of effort into homeless veterans. And I'm very proud to say that we've rehoused 2 homeless veterans within our city. I think that's really phenomenal. Corporal Stevens actually had the opportunity to do that. Along with that, we also provide, resources to individuals after we follow up with them throughout their crisis. And it could be something similar to resources of basically just talking with them one-on-one, or getting them help like transportation or medicine or anything like that. That comes through these resources that the state grant has for us. So a grant or a partner that we have will come by and they'll do a follow-up with them alongside with us. So I'm very happy that we've done that. We've done a lot of work with it. We've done over 60 follow-ups out of the 150 people that we made contact with. So we're still working, we're still moving the unit up. That's just what I wanted to let you guys know about. Now I'm going to turn over to Mental Health Officer Todd.
Good evening. My name is Ed Todd. This is my partner, Amy Anderson. Amy is with Schertz EMS. Together we make up the fire and EMS side of the UC mental health unit. So we've only been doing this team, both with PD, fire, and EMS, for maybe a little over a year and a half now. And since then, we've kind of realized that me being a police officer is not always the same thing as PD being mental health on their side. So we've grown things in both a parallel direction, as well as we've kind of separated a little things in terms of what it is that we do on a day-to-day basis. So Amy, being the MIH paramedic with Schertz EMS, she is kind of your social worker of Schertz EMS, who's in charge of all of the entities and cities that Schertz is a part of. So together, her and I kind of go out and we see not only patients that have mental health crises, but also those that may have medical concerns as well. Those who are needing hospice, and providing those resources for them, as well as helping them either get to these appointments that they're unable to get to, or help regulate and talk about medications that they could or potentially need to be on. So mental health is a huge portion of what we do with these patients. We see patients who are considered high utilizers of EMS and emergency services, calling upwards of about 30 times in a matter of just 3 months. And this is on an individual basis. And so we were able to make contact with these patients after these crises have happened and kind of see what it is that we can do to help them, to keep them not necessarily reaching out for emergency services, but maybe there's something else that we can do to provide them a better service. And since then, we've taken just these couple of patients that I'm kind of referencing right now, from calling 30 times in 3 months to 3 times in about 9 months. So we've been able to reduce that call volume for these emergency services and make them more available for other emergencies that happen. So I spoke a little bit about we help regulate their medications, and Amy's, being a paramedic, has a huge knowledge in that background and is able to provide a lot of input on that. On the mental health side, we have encountered a lot of patients who are suicidal, homicidal, and the list goes on from there in terms of mental health diagnosis. So we've been able to make contact with these patients, and just recently I'm pretty happy to report that we were dealing with a patient who is not only battling suicidal ideations, but also multiple personalities as well, and we were able to get her placement in a treatment facility out in Salt Lake City. She just flew out probably about a week and a half ago now, and she called me earlier this week, and she just wanted to say that she was doing good. So that is something that we were pretty happy to report on. Kind of switching gears a little bit in terms of mental health, myself, Amy, and then I believe Sergeant Yee is also a part of different peer support networks. I help provide peer support with all first responders, not only in this city, but all the cities surrounding and in the state of Texas. Amy and I are part of a peer support team that deploys on a fairly regular basis in terms of when officers are involved in crises, should something like fatality or something like that ever happen. We're there to provide not only support to the first responders, but the families and stuff as well, and provide those resources that they need. Other than that, that's really all I had to report on. If you guys have any questions for the whole team, we can take them.
Maybe I'll just kind of give a little bit of background. So when the ARPA funding came out, one of the items that it provided was for mental health officers for both police and fire, because as we went through the COVID situation, it was very apparent that a lot of us were not in our right mind or in the mental health state that we needed to be in. And for many, medical care or psychiatric treatment was no longer available to them. And sorry, there's a nap. And so the ARPA funds provided that you could use the ARPA funds for mental health officers. And so we pitched that to the city council, they approved that, and so they have been in place for a while. But it's not just necessarily about helping the individuals, but it's also about keeping our police and fire department on the streets. Because when there is a call and an officer arrives and they realize it's a mental health issue, they can be tied up for 4 or 5 hours. And if they need backup, now we have 2 police officers or 2 firemen or more who are not on the street or in the station doing the job that they need to do. So once this is encountered, we call in the mental health officers, they take over, and then so everybody who's on patrol or a detective goes back and does the jobs that they need to do to keep Universal City safe and moving forward. So that is the staffing perspective that we looked at it as well. You know, the ARPA fund only provides mental health officer funding for 5 years. And so at some point when we come to city council, probably in the 2026-2027 budget, we're going to be asking you whether or not you think these programs are successful. We'll continue to monitor what we're doing, and then we'll have to make a decision at that point whether we will take these from ARPA funding and put them into the general fund, and how that might happen. So that's the looking back and looking forward. Any questions for myself or the staff?
Yes, ma'am. Approximately how many of your clients are veterans, and what would you guesstimate the age range being within the population that you serve?
Veterans and age range is what he's asking.
So typically, what we've seen statistically on our side is they range between the ages of 50 all the way up to 70. There's different resources for them that we have as well. And it doesn't necessarily range for mental health, also the homeless side as well. So we do have resources to cover all of them. And that's something that's covered by grants as well too. That's something that the city doesn't provide. It's something that the federal government as well as the state government provides.
And more or less, what is the gestalt for number of veterans that might be you may have contact with?
So last year, it was approximately 10 to 15 veterans that we made contact with in crisis situation, as well as homeless situation. So yeah, approximately 10 to 15.
Well, I certainly appreciate the effort, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you all for coming, and thank you for the UCPAA members here. We're here to support them and support them. So the next item that we have is a staff report, and it has related to water. So in the state of Texas, they have a program called Certified Public Manager, and it is available to most people, but it's really advantageous for government employees and social workers and things of that nature, because what it does is it gives you a very well-rounded knowledge of how governments work in terms of budget, HR, law, management, leadership skills, communications, and things of that nature. So we are always trying to encourage our staff members to go through the Certified Public Management course. Some of you will remember Chief Caceres, he went through it. Chief Siemens has been through it, I've been through it. Kristen Mueller went through it as well. And our two new recent graduates, Michael Casada and Athena Ford, have both just finished doing that. As part of that 2.5-year program, they are required to do a research paper that would be advantageous to their position or to the entity that they work for. And so I had the pleasure of sitting in on both of their presentations when they gave them. And when Athena was working on her project, she's like, oh, I don't know what to do it on. I said, let's how about water? So we kind of formulated a water plan, research project for her. She gave the presentation amongst many of her peers from other cities and counties, and they were floored by the information that she had. And so although she talks about primarily Universal City, she talked about water as a whole. So I thought maybe it would be very advantageous to hear the research that she's done and then to know kind of where we stand as a city. And so when we say we're always looking for water, we're always buying water, we're always leasing water, and we bring those before city councils, that you'll understand why we do that. So with that, I'm going to introduce Athena Ford.
Thank you, Kim. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Can everyone hear her? Yes. Thank you.
My name is Athena Ford, and I'm the Public Works Utility Administrator for the city, and I'm going to present to you the acquisition of water rights in Universal City, Texas. All right, so I'm going to start by painting you a picture. Imagine your family, happy and healthy. You live in a suburban area, much like Universal City. All your bills are paid. Suddenly you come home one day, and you don't have any water. Well, that's weird. So your first initial reaction is probably going to be, you're angry. So you're angry, and then what are you going to do? You're going to call City Hall, and we're going to try to help you as best we can, but all we can offer you is, sorry. We ran out of water. The big metropolitan San Antonio next door took it all. Well, luckily, this is a little bit dramatic, and this probably isn't going to happen because water rights exist. So, what are water rights and why are they important? Well, water rights regulate how public and private landowners use water from a specified source, and they're important because they establish the fair use of water from these sources. So property owners are entitled to their share, and it allows even distribution amongst these people. So a little bit of the history of water rights in Texas. It actually dates all the way back to the Mexican-American era, when any water that was found in the state was actually acquired and it belonged to the King of Spain. But we'll fast forward a little bit to the historical landmark case that established modern day water rights. So this case is Houston, Texas and Central Railway Co. versus East, and it's the 1904 Texas Supreme Court case that opened the discussion for the rule of capture. So basically what happened was in the day of the railroads, these steam locomotives were traveling right outside of Houston in an area called Denison, Texas. They stopped their steam locomotives, drilled a deep well, and started pumping 25,000 gallons of water a day. The landowner was actually Mr. East, and when his well went dry because of this, he sued the railway company. So what's said to be a political decision of the time, they favored the railway company, so Mr. East lost. Then when he finally appealed it and it went all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court, he won. And they said that you're the landowner, you have the right to the water that's under your land, which is the rule of capture. Then we move forward a little bit to the Texas Groundwater Act of 1949. So this act established groundwater conservation districts in the state, which are the conservation districts and water districts that they're there to help conserve, protect, distribute, and manage water rights in the state. And then with Senate Bill 1 in 1997, that is the ruling that made groundwater conservation districts the preferred method of managing water in Texas. All right, so how does water work? We have 3 geological pools that we're divided into. We have surface water, diffuse surface water, and groundwater. So surface water is the water that floats atop the Earth's surface in streams, lakes, rivers, and they're governed by riparian water rights. And what that means is that if your land is adjacent to this water in a stream or a river, you can use it for beneficial use. So that's for irrigation, bathing, drinking, those sort of things. That water is regulated by the state, so you do still have to have permits for them through TCEQ. You do have diffused surface water, and that belongs to the landowner. So basically, if you stick a bucket outside while it's raining, that water's yours. Do with it what you want. And then groundwater, which is the water that is under the Earth's surface in pools and aquifers, and that is ruled by the rule of capture. Pretty simple. So 9 major aquifers and 21 minor aquifers make up the state. We have the Edwards Aquifer, which is the aquifer that Universal City uses predominantly. Does anybody know who the Edwards and Edwards Aquifer is? No? Fun fact you'll learn tonight. The Edwards and Edwards Aquifer is because the main rock formation in the Edwards Aquifer is Edwards limestone. So that is where it gets its name. Additionally, we have the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer. This aquifer is the largest in Texas and it spans 66 counties. So that's a pretty important one. We are lucky to be able to tap into that one if we need it. So then groundwater conservation districts, they're created by the Texas legislature or TCEQ. There's 98 of them in Texas. They cover 70% of the state, so we all live in one. These operate under the modified rule of capture. So earlier how I said that if it's under your land, you can pump it. Well, that's not entirely true. You can, but you have to have the rights to do it. So again, they are the preferred method in the state. They are governed by the Texas Alliance of Groundwater Districts, which was established in 1988, so they regulate all of those districts for us. So, what are some of the factors influencing the acquisition of water rights? Why do we want or need more? So the first is because the Edwards Aquifer Authority is the water district that Universal City is using. So they were given the power to conserve, protect, manage, and distribute water rights with the Edwards Aquifer Act of 1993. And they're important because they issue drought restrictions. So this is the table that we use to monitor drought restrictions for Universal City. It's in the San Antonio pool. We are actually in the J17 index well. So what happens is when the well starts depleting and hits these certain thresholds, we enter this critical stage here. And whenever we enter that critical stage, they start knocking off pump and allotment from what we're allowed to pump. So if you start with 100 acre feet of water, you're at 20% for 365 days, 100 minus 20, you get 80 acre feet. So the math gets kind of funky because we don't usually stay in one restriction all year, but as it goes down, I mean, it takes away a lot of our water rights. Currently, right now, we are in stage 3, estimated to go to stage 4 here in the next 2 weeks. So, other factors, we have environmental concerns. The 1950s drought, or the drought of record, is the worst drought in Texas history. It is still the drought that we compare everything in the state to. And then we need to be thinking about future droughts and weather patterns. This is how we're going to be planning our water rights acquisitions. So you can see that this top graph is the drought of record from 1950 to 1957, and it was very, very dry with very little to no rainfall for 7 years. Now this was obviously devastating to the state for agriculture, wildfires, crops. It was horrible. So just to give you a little bit of a comparison, this is 2019 to 2023. And you can see we had a little bit of a rough year here, but we've had some pretty good rain. Nothing quite as sustained as this dryness. So Texas is obviously very dry. Why is it dry? Well, it's called La Nina. We see it in Texas every year from December to February. Basically what happens is that these Pacific waters down here by the equator start to cool off, which disrupts atmospheric circulation patterns and tropical rainfall. So this pushes the jet stream further north, which blocks this cold air up here. Now Texas is dependent on this dry air and this cold air mixing to produce rainfall and replenish our aquifers. So when we have a dry winter, it means we're gonna have a dry summer. So we had a very dry winter this past year. We can look forward to a very dry summer. Okay, so what about population? Well, Texas is growing at 1,300 people a day, and the San Antonio area is already the second fastest growing metropolitan in the country. Universal City is going to see more population growth. So we have surrounding areas that are also competing for the same water rights. A lot of us use the Edwards Aquifer. It spans 13 counties. So how are we going to get our rights? So that's why you may want or need them. So what are the strategies and methods of water rights acquisition? Well, we're obviously going to fight about it. We're going to ride into battle, and we're going to take them from San Antonio. Not really, we're not going to do that. I mean, unless y'all want to. But, so, not really. We can do additional permitting. We have temporary use permits that are available from the Edwards Aquifer Authority. These are an option. The problem with them is that the Edwards Aquifer has already distributed almost all of their water rights. They have about 400 acre-feet left for distribution. So a lot of those rights get snatched up pretty early in the year. We have local government co-ops. We are lucky to be part of the Shark-Sinking Local Government Corporation. So this allows us to directly tap into the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer as a backup option. So we are lucky to be part of that. Application for water rights transfer. This one is really good because it gives you the opportunity to establish relationships with people outside of the community. So you can talk to independent farmers or other organizations and basically say, I would like to lease your water for the remainder of the year. You agree to pump X amount less, and we will pump X amount more. Pretty simple. There are a few stipulations with it. You obviously have to be in the same geological pool, so you can't do surface water to groundwater or vice versa. And you also have to be in the same area, so somebody in the Trinity Aquifer can't transfer to us in the Edwards Aquifer. So it kind of limits your choices, but this is still a really good option that holds a lot of value. You can also use water acquisition groups. We use ROARDOG, which is the Regional Water Resources Development Group. They're a group that basically you tell them, hey, I want more water rights, and they'll go out and look for it for you. Great. Conveniently, they are in a little bit of a transition period right now, so they're not our first option. And then one of the last options is we can buy more. We can buy more water rights. The thing is, we have to budget for them, and I mean long-term budgeting. We need to be planning for this. I used a lot of scenario planning in my research methodology, so that basically means that I took everything worst case scenario, 365 days in stage 5, which is the most that they could confirm pumping along. So that makes us prepared for anything. The Edwards Aquifer also has really great critical consumption tools to use to help you forecast through these challenges. All right, so how does this apply to Universal City, Texas? Well, Universal City, we were established in 1960. Population as of 2023 was just over 20,000. We are known as the gateway to Randolph Air Force Base. We're at a build-out percentage of about 93%. We have 6 active wells, and we are fixing to bring our 7th online. We have 3,747.825 acre-feet of water rights in the Edwards Aquifer, and we have 800 acre-feet that we can pump from the Carrizo if needed. So Universal City is a total of 4,547.825 acre-feet. This is roughly about like 1.7 billion gallons of water. For anybody who doesn't know, 1 acre-foot is 325,851 gallons, and 1 acre-foot is the amount of water you need to soak an acre of land 1 foot deep. All right, so usage projections for Universal City. So I have divided this up into 3 scenarios called perfect world, real world, and chaotic world. So keep in mind 2019 to 2023 is historically accurate data. And on average, we pump about 854 million gallons of water a year. That has been our average for the past 5 years. So, in a perfect world, you can see that we have 1.2 billion gallons of water from the Edwards Aquifer alone. On average, we're pumping about 854 per year. These ones include your drought restrictions that actually happen. So, In a perfect world, we're good. I mean, this gap right here, we're not pumping anywhere near what we actually own in water rights. So that's great. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, we live in the real world. So, in the real world, we are usually in about stage 2, 3 water restrictions from the Edwards Aquifer. It's kind of where we stay annually. So once we get into those cuts, we went from 1.2 down to a little over 800 million gallons. So we just pump just over that. So this would indicate either turning on the Carrizo Aquifer or purchasing or leasing more water.
And so just to clarify, it's Edwards who's making the cut, not the city. Correct.
It is the Edwards Aquifer who makes these restrictions. And unless we want to pay a very large fine, listen. And then chaotic world, this is worst case scenario. So this would be 365 days in stage 5. That's a 44% cut in our water, which takes us down to about 684 million gallons. And seeing how we already pump a lot more than that, this would mean buying or leasing more water or turning on the Carrizo. So that's just with drought restrictions. So now let's talk about population requirements. So a rule of thumb for public water systems is that we have to be able to supply 130 gallons of water per person per day. I went ahead and based my calculations off of about 132 gallons per person per day to account for firefighting, because for firefighting you have to be able to provide 250 gallons of water per minute for 2 hours at peak demand. So the extra 2 gallons per person per day accounts for that. Universal City has an estimated population growth of about 1.4% for the next 5 years, and then we're going to kind of even out. So with those population requirements, again, perfect world, real world, chaotic world. So perfect world, we have all the water we need. This is how much we would need to supply for our population, and this is how much we have. No cuts. Great, wonderful. Again, we don't live in a perfect world. We live in the real world. So once we get into stage 2, 3 drought restrictions, they start taking off our water again. But no, we have to have this much to supply our population. So here, it's kind of roughly where we are, indicates turning on the Carrizo, purchasing or leasing more water. And then again, worst case scenario, 1.2 down to 684 million gallons. And we need to be up here to supply for our people, but we're down here because the Edwards Aquifer doesn't want us to. So definitely looking at purchasing, leasing more water. So I am a numbers girl, so I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers on you, but have no fear, I will talk you through them. So some of the solutions that we can do. If the population of Universal City, Texas continues to grow at a rate of 1.4% for the next 5 years, the city will need to permanently obtain an additional 753 acre-feet in water rights by 2033 if we wanted to be solely dependent on the Edwards Aquifer. Well, unfortunately, this is not possible because the Edwards Aquifer doesn't have that much water left to distribute, so we won't be able to do that. Let alone if we wanted to, you're looking at about a cost of $4.5 million, which isn't the best. So basically how I broke up these numbers is that you have your year, what the population is estimated to be, how much we're required to supply in gallons, and then I converted that to acre feet because acre feet are just a little bit easier to look at. Your pumping allowance in stage 2 or 3 water restrictions, also converted that to acre feet. So then this deficit here, 753 acre feet, is what we would need to supply for our population in stage 2, 3 drought restrictions. But luckily we do have the Carrizo and we have those additional 800 acre feet. If we needed them, we'd be okay. If we pumped every single one, we'd be okay. So, but we're planning from worst case scenario. So if the population of Universal City continues to grow at a rate of 1.4% for the next 5 years, and we utilize all 800 acre feet allowed in the Carrizo Aquifer in addition to everything that we have in the Edwards, we're going to have to permanently obtain an additional 385 acre feet of water to meet demand over the next 10 years. So this is possible, but not entirely from the Edwards Aquifer. So we are going to have to purchase these from independent farmers or other people, or purchase more in the Carrizo. There's a lot of different options. So I did the same thing here. What we're required to supply based on the population, converted it to acre feet, stage 5 water restrictions, converted that to acre feet, and then this is our deficit. But then if we pumped everything, we would be at 385 acre feet remaining. So that's really what we're looking at for the next couple of years. So I threw a lot of information at you. So what does it all mean? Well, you're going to be happy to hear that our water shortage is more related to equitable sharing rather than a physical shortage. So a lot of people believe that what's in the aquifer is about 25 million acre feet of water rather than the 572,000 that they're actually allowed to distribute. It just really comes down to, can we reach that water? Is it in pores? Kind of things like that. Reuse water and desalination are the future of water in Texas. The first desalination plant in Corpus Christi was approved in January of 2024 for 757 million gallons of, $757 million, not gallons. So that's going to be a really exciting project to see how that turns out. Water, it's a finite source. We got to be thinking about where we're going to get more. And then it comes down to how much are you willing to spend. A single acre foot is looking about anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 for 1 acre foot. Remember, I said we need 385. So what about future pipelines? Are we going to be able to benefit from this desal plant? Are we going to be able to get water from the Brazos River up north? I don't know. These are things that we have to think about. Drought is inevitable in Texas. It's never going to stop. We need to plan for it now. We need to be ahead of the game. So leasing water may also be a more feasible option than purchasing. It's usually cheaper. So that's a good option for us. So Universal City, Texas will need to secure 385 acre feet of water minimum in the next 10 years. I can tell you that last year alone, we had to purchase, lease an additional 525 acre feet to get through the year. We are running the Carrizo right now as a supplement source. But I can assure you that us at Public Works, that we are working on securing the future of water for the city, and you will definitely see that reflected in our budget this year. But we are working diligently every month and every year to make sure that we do have enough water for our citizens and our growth. All right. And I'll leave you with a quote. Thank you.
It's pretty awesome. When do we stop planning for water? We never stop. When do we stop looking for water? We never stop. When do we start knocking on doors? We never stop knocking on doors. Between Randy and Athena and Brandon, sometimes we find water just based on hearsay. And so we go after it, and we will continue to do that. So just for everybody generally who's in here, the water purchases come through the rates that you pay for your water. And so on July 9th, Grady Reed, who is our consultant that does our water rate study for us, will be here, and he will include, as we do every year, funding in our water program for the purchase and or lease of more water. So thank you for your time. Thank you again. It was fabulous.
Great question. We have time for the, sorry. Do you have a question?
Yes, you did that so well, with Randy in the background especially. Essentially, would you consider putting that on your presentation online for all residents to look at if they can, and perhaps others somewhere on the city website, just a straight presentation like you gave to the council? Secondly, is there consideration for cisterns program within the city or homeowner gray water use, just gray water recycling within homes? Have we got to that point yet?
So we'll let Randy respond to all of that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, in our conservation plan, it does allow for gray water, for rainwater recapture and all that, so any homeowner can do that. There was grants at one time that supported that, but not right now. We used to go out for the Edwards to get. But yeah, we don't have any. There is no grants right now, but it is where you can do that yourself as a homeowner. Recapture rainwater off roofs and stuff like that.
And again, great presentation.
Dina did a great job.
Great job.
Now it's time for citizens to be heard. At this time, the public is invited to address the city council, speak on any matter not specifically listed for a public hearing elsewhere. On the agenda, no discussion will be conducted by the city council presentation. We only have one person that's signed up for citizens to be heard, and that's Ollie Schaefer. State your name and your address.
I'm Ollie Schaefer. I live at 106 Granada Drive. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I would like to address the code of conduct policy for elected and appointed officials as passed and approved by council on 21 November 2023. The first sentence of the preamble of this document reads, "The citizens and businesses of Universal City are entitled to have fair, ethical, and accountable local government which has earned the public's full confidence. The divisive atmosphere that is becoming a norm for our council does not serve in the best interest of Universal City or its citizens. You were all elected with the expectation that you will adhere to this policy. What we are seeing, however, is bad attitudes and childish behaviors. These behaviors do not represent us, our families, our local businesses, or the support organizations and nonprofits that serve our city. These behaviors and attitudes do not fall in line with this code of conduct. When you took the oath of office, you essentially agreed to commit to representing all voices rather than just a select few. In other words, you now represent me regardless of who I voted for in any election, and you do not have my full confidence. Recently, I have personally witnessed condescending, disrespectful, irreverent, petty behaviors by the members of this council and last, both from the dais and while out in public. I've witnessed council being disrespectful to one another and to regular citizens of the city, including myself. These behaviors are against the code of conduct policy and are grossly unacceptable. As a resident, I don't want to be forced to pick sides in council's political or social battles. You all represent me equally, and even though you might not agree on how to move forward on official city business, it is not okay to be publicly disrespectful to each other or anyone else. You should be working together to find common ground that best serves the citizens you represent. Mr. Mayor, I hope the code of conduct can be addressed and our council will be held to a standard that can elevate our city to a level of admiration that is currently lacking. As stated in the code of conduct, the mayor has the additional responsibility to intervene when actions of members that appear to be in violation of the code of conduct are brought to their attention. Respectfully, I request that you take this into account for seated members. Council members, the behaviors you are demonstrating out in public and on the dais are noted by citizens and people outside of Universal City, such as potential business owners and city officials from other local municipalities. They watch our meetings and see how we as a city conduct business. They see the way you choose to act. They watch your behaviors during meetings and while you are out in public. Council is getting a negative reputation that reflects on our whole community. I hope that my time here tonight helps you to be more aware that the public is watching and the public votes, and I appreciate all of you serving our city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. Now we'll move on to city manager announcement.
I would just like to point out that we put out the calendar for the June, July adventures that begin at your library. Some people think that all these programs are just for kids, but I really would recommend that you go through it because some of them are for adults only, 18 and over. And the staff spends a lot of time taking into consideration all age groups. And I'm quite confident, regardless of your age, you will find something to do with the library in June and July. Thank you, Mayor.
And so my first official act as mayor, I get to give a proclamation tonight, and this council member is going to read the proclamation. And I believe, was it
Ms. Castleman?
Ms. Castleman?
It's going to be me.
Oh, there you
Yes.
go. Thank you.
Bonnie couldn't be here, so I came instead. And I'm going to leave this out there so that we can make sure everybody's got a copy if they want. I'll let you go.
be right here in the front. Join me, Ms. Putt.
Well, I'd like to preface this with members of our family have been in military service since the Civil War. We still have many veterans that are roaming this earth, and maybe in a few years we'll have some new recruits. So I'm very proud to be reading this. This is for the National Poppy Day 2024. Whereas Universal City is the gateway to Randolph Air Force Base, and whereas Universal City is closely tied to the military community and supports all military members, including veterans and current service members. And whereas poppies are worn and displayed in a symbolic tribute to our fallen and the future living veterans and service members. And whereas at the end of World War I, the American Legion family adopted the poppy as a symbol of freedom and the blood sacrificed by troops in war times. The symbolic use of the poppy comes from the poem In Flanders Fields, which movingly begins, In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the cross, row on row, referring to poppies that sprang up in the churned up earth of newly dug soldiers' graves over parts of Belgium and France. And whereas the American Legion family has long utilized the red poppy as its official flower, symbolizing the blood shed by those who have served in our U.S. military and the meaning of symbolism of the poppy, mirroring the manner in which the international community uses the symbol in remembrance of those lost in battle, especially for Remembrance Day, also known as Armistice Day and Poppy Day. And whereas National Poppy Day encourages all Americans to wear a red poppy in remembrance of the fallen and support living service members and veterans, promoting unity across our country. And whereas U.S. House Resolution 309 recognized each Friday before Memorial Day as National Poppy Day, making the 24th, 2024 an appropriate date to designate as National Poppy Day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Maxwell of the City of Universal City supports the designation of May 24th, 2024 as National Poppy Day, and be it further resolved that the Universal City Council encourages all members and visitors of Universal City, Texas, to join in observing this day to honor every service member who has died in the name of liberty, freedom, and democracy, while also showing their support for living veterans, service members, and their family members. In witness whereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Universal City, Texas, to be affixed to this 21st day of May 2024. Signed, Tom Maxwell, Mayor.
This actually is a little nostalgic because my father and his brothers were all World War II veterans. And I remember I was raised going to different areas during this time of year, and the poppy ladies were always out. And at that time, it was really about a penny a poppy, but it's by tradition that when you get a poppy, you make a donation. And since I took a poppy, I'll leave the rest for you.
I appreciate that, and we'll leave this for anyone that would wear them, because this coming Friday is Poppy Day.
And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, I might add, we're going to have the basket here after the meeting. Also, if we do run out, you can go by VFW Post 667, I believe they're on Bowie Street. American Legion, excuse me, Bowie, and they open at noon every day, and you can get poppies there as well through the end of Friday.
Didn't have a button to hold that. Next, get back on the schedule here. City manager's announcements.
I did mine, so we're on to yours.
Okay. Then for mayor's announcements, and then that's going to be from me. I did mine. That was my apologies. I've got 3 items for the council, really. Number one, I would like to know if you would be interested in a tour of Randolph Air Force Base to get an idea of what the mission is at Randolph sometime later this summer. I haven't got a date in that area, but I'd like to, I think as a council, we go through a tour and see what the mission is and how it interacts with some things with the city. And I'm seeing some nods, so I'll take that if you're interested. I'll set that up with the Deputy Commander for Public Affairs. Number two, I would, at the end of the meeting, if you would get with Maribel and come up with a consensus of a date, I would like to have a one-on-one meeting with each of the council members, new members, I'm new mayor. That way we just get maybe 15 minutes is all I want. It's just some just discussion back and forth. No top secret handshakes or anything of that nature. We just kind of get to know each other. But we'll pick a date. I'd like to, we can come up with that one date. One day next week it would be great. I'll just range it around 15 minutes from Little Stone here, and I'll supply the donuts or apple fritters. Third item, I would like to. It's kind of a play in on what Mr. Schaefer was having to say there. I'd like to use the council policy of a consensus, and I would like to add the council procedures back to as an action item for the next meeting, or for discussion item, sorry, not action item, discussion item, to basically discuss rules that we have within ourselves, and also the possibility of how we come to a consensus of putting things onto the ballot as far as agendas. And so that we all understand, we got new people on board, and this will give us an opportunity to discuss and find out exactly where to go. And I know I have the power to set and dictate it, but I'd like to use the policy that was established a few months ago by using policy of consensus. So my understanding is I need to see 3 consensus is an agreement. I got 1 from there, 2, 3.
Sure.
So that consensus is 6. Okay, so that's on the agenda for the next week. And that's all I have at this point in time, but I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be here. The reality is, this is the first evening that we've had a council member where Mayor Williams has not been here for 16 years. So this is kind of a monumental journey for me. And I have high respect for the man, and I'm honored to be here, honored to be serving with you guys here. And I think we have a really great council up here, and we've got an interesting 2 years ahead of us. It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be fun. With that being said, I'm going to start with Councilmember Bulman.
I don't have anything tonight, thank you though.
Other than congratulations on your first meeting, I'm excited to, I think whenever Mayor Williams retired, I said you had some pretty big shoes to fill. I think you're doing a great job. So thank you, sir.
Nothing from me, that Mayor, thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'd like to address this great divide, and that is we have a historic night tonight. We have 3 women, 3 men in this great divide. So and I think it's the first time in the history of Universal City that 3 women have served on council.
It's true. I think it is.
I just wanted to put out a reminder that the Heroes Camp is coming up. It's going to start the first week in June. If you know any 12 to 14-year-olds, there's still spots available. It's going to be a great opportunity for the kids to spend a week interacting and doing activities with our police, fire, and EMS workers. They will get dirty, they will get wet, they will have the time of their life, they will come home trained in CPR. I think it's a really great opportunity for any of our citizens' kiddos. This year we also opened it up to grandparents, any grandkids. If the grandparents live in UC, the kids can come participate. So please get your application. There is a website, an email address that they can refer to, the ucherocamp@gmail.com.
Just very honored to be here. I want to put out a promise that we will, hopefully we will all work together for the betterment of Universal City. We live in a great place, and let's keep it moving. Thank you for everything.
Go to the next item. We got the consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine by City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Any objections or any polls? Call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got approved by Councilman Ware and approved by, was that?
Goolsby.
Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
That's it.
Carries.
We have one action item, tab B, approval of pay application number 3 invoice for the Ivy Lane Street improvements construction.
Yes, so this is a community development block grant. In order for us to get reimbursement with our pay application, we need to have city council approve this invoice.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion passes.
With that being said, Mayor Williams, I hope you are watching tonight. 55 minutes. 25. That's what you're told.